Friends, before we get into this incredibly important story, I need you to stop scrolling right now, because what I'm about to tell you is exactly the kind of stuff that only surfaces when things inside the paddock are about to get absolutely chaotic. Fernando Alonso on the edge, Lewis Hamilton reborn, and Max Verstappen? The fans already crowned him before a single lap has been run in 2026. Let's go. All right, let's talk about the elephant in the garage. The Aston Martin AMR 26. When that car was revealed, the F1 world collectively lost its mind. And why wouldn't it? Adrian Newey, the greatest car designer in the history of this sport, put his signature on this machine. It looked aggressive, it looked fast, it looked like a weapon. And then Bahrain happened. 6 days of pre-season testing. 6 days. And the AMR 26 spent a huge chunk of that time just sitting in the garage. Not on track, not pushing lap times, just sitting there. On the second to last day of testing, a technical failure kept the car in the pits for the entire session. The team worked through the night trying to fix it, and the next morning, Lance Stroll walked out, climbed in, and completed 6 installation laps. 6. The final tally? 329 laps. Dead last in the mileage chart, behind everyone. And then Honda, their power unit supplier, revealed that the car had been suffering from abnormal vibrations affecting the battery and the power unit. They say they're implementing countermeasures. But here's the problem. There are no guarantees those fixes will be ready before the Australian Grand Prix. Let that sink in. The season opener, Australia. And Aston Martin might show up still fighting ghosts from testing. Now here's where this story gets deeply, personally dramatic. Fernando Alonso turns 45 years old in 2026. 45. 3 years ago, he walked into Aston Martin with one mission: his 3rd world championship. That was the dream. That was the deal. And for a while, it felt possible. But Anthony Davidson, one of the sharpest analytical minds in the F1 paddock, is now raising the alarm. He says, and I'm not sugarcoating this, that if the technical problems don't clear up fast, Alonso could emotionally overflow. His words, not mine. And if you've watched Fernando Alonso for even one season of F1, you know what that looks like. This is a man who has never hidden his fire. When he's frustrated, the world finds out. And honestly, if you're feeling that same fire watching this story unfold, do me a favor and smash that like button right now. It genuinely helps this channel bring you more stories like this one. And it tells the algorithm that F1 fans are here and we want more. Hit it. Thank you. Now, let's keep going, because this gets even bigger. After preseason testing, the consensus in the paddock was that Mercedes looked like the team to beat in 2026. George Russell was being flagged by the bookmakers as the early favorite. Then, Racing News 365 ran a fan poll. And the results? They flipped the entire narrative upside down. Max Verstappen, 29% of the vote. Lewis Hamilton, 23.8%. Those two at the top. George Russell, just 12.1%. And here's the one that really tells a story. Lando Norris, the reigning world champion. He got 5.6%. 5.6%. The fans don't believe Norris can back it up. That is brutal. That's the kind of verdict that follows a driver into every press conference, every podium interview, every single lap of 2026. And Charles Leclerc, who actually led the Bahrain test times and was 1.1 seconds faster than Verstappen, still only pulled 21.5% of the votes. In Formula One, reputation is everything. And right now, the court of public opinion is running on legacy, not lap times. Now let's talk about the most compelling storyline heading into 2026. Lewis Hamilton and Ferrari. Because last year was, by Hamilton's own impossible standards, a disaster. For the first time in his entire career, across every team, every season, every championship, he finished a complete year without a single podium. Not one. 0. And here's what really happened, according to Rob Smedley, former F1 race engineer. someone who has lived this world from the inside. It wasn't just about the car. The Ferrari was competitive. The real problem was structural. It was human. Lewis Hamilton has always built his performance on relationships. At Mercedes, his bond with Pete Bonington was legendary. They practically read each other's minds. Then Hamilton arrived at Maranello, and everything was different. New language, new processes, new culture, new rhythm. He parted ways with engineer Riccardo Adami over the winter, and Ferrari still hasn't confirmed a permanent replacement. But here's what Smedley is betting on. Year 2 is always different. Hamilton now has a full season of Ferrari culture inside him. The adaptation tax has already been paid. Now, it's time to cash in. If the driver and the team find that alignment, Smedley believes we could see Lewis right back at the center of this title fight. And after the pace Ferrari showed in Bahrain, that's not a fantasy. That's a very real possibility. So let's bring this all together. The 2026 season hasn't even started, and we already have Aston Martin arriving in Australia with an unresolved problem and Alonso running out of seasons to chase that third title. Hamilton at Ferrari hungry and with everything to prove. Verstappen still the most feared name on the grid and a reigning champion who apparently needs to earn his own fans' trust all over again. This season is going to be absolutely insane, and we are going to be here for every single twist. But before you go, Fernando Alonso, does he still have one more championship run left in him? Or has time finally caught up with the most stubborn, most brilliant, most infuriating competitor this sport has ever seen? Drop your answer below. And if you think Hamilton is going to get there first in that Ferrari, say that too. Because this comment section is about to get seriously heated. We'll see you at the Australian Grand Prix. And trust me, you don't want to miss what happens next.